The CAQ has wrapped up its first session in the National Assembly. Premier Francois Legault was in our studios earlier today to talk about that. So first off, I want to welcome you to our studios.
Thank you.
It's the first time you've been here since you're Premier.
Inviting me, Mrs. Takahashi.
So I've got to know. So first off, you've been Premier now for just over 6 months. Is it what you thought it was going to be?
It's fun. I like that. Of course, we have many decisions to take. There's a lot of stress, but people are happy. So it looks almost easier than I expected.
Okay, so we're going to get to the people are happy first, okay? I think there's no denying in your government that your government has done a lot of good. You've responded to the flooding very well. The carbon monoxide detectors in the school, you responded very quickly. The pork producers, you were on top of it very, very quickly. So there's no denying that your government has done good.
Yeah.
But I think the concerns that are being raised in the minority communities, there is a sense among the cultural communities and the minority groups that you are preoccupied with keeping the majority happy at the expense of the minority groups. Do you think they're wrong in thinking that?
First, I would say that my priorities are around education. We spend a lot of money. We start school at 4 years old. And economy, putting back money in people's pocket and creating well-paid jobs. These are my priorities. I think that this matter around the religious signs needed to be settled in order that we turn the page and speak about real priorities. And what I proposed was a moderate law. I've asked compromises to everybody. I've asked that we remove the crucifix. I've asked to put a grandfather clause in order that nobody will lose his job or job. And I've reduced the number of people that will be touched with the law. We said prison guards, policemen or women, judges and teachers, that's it, that's all, and only new employees. So it's comparable to what we have in Germany, in Belgium, and in France.
But still, as you know, perception is everything in politics. And what we see is a government that took two very controversial bills, Bill 21 on secularism, Bill 9 on immigration. We saw you invoke the notwithstanding clause. Then we saw you force closure on debate. And then in the middle of that limited debate, the minister in charge of the bill went jogging for an hour. No. So, no, but you understand.
No, but there are many points in what you said. First, in a debate of 19 hours in a row, to go jogging for an hour, I think it's good. It's good for him, good for everybody. You have to make sure that you have enough air to stay calm. Second, we had 60 hours of debate. And I think that even if we had 1,000 hours of debate, people would have stayed on their position.
But you can understand, though, again, in terms of percent, and I don't want to get into an argument of you as to how much air a minister needs, in a 16, but he's a young man, right? He doesn't need that much rest, I don't
disagree,
think.
But that's fine.
Okay, but we will agree to disagree on that.
Okay.
But you have to understand that all those things that I cited, people cannot help, the people who are most affected by these two laws are going to look at your government and say, that sounds a little arrogant. Okay. That sounds like he didn't care about what we had to say. They were going to go through it no matter what.
Okay. First, it's a debate we have since 11 years. And I think it's about time we turn the page. And you talk about perception. Let's talk concretely about what is proposed. Let's say that you have a policeman with a kippah and having in front of him a Muslim. Or the opposite, a policewoman with a hijab having in front of her somebody that is from the Jewish community. Is there an appearance, a perception of neutrality? What we propose is about what we see in many European countries. I understand that in Canada, because of the Charter of Rights of Mr. Trudeau, the father, that it's again individual rights. But in this charter, we have the notwithstanding clause to protect collective rights. Mr. Bourassa, Robert Bourassa, used it. And I think it's important to, when you want to put in place something about the values, about securalism, about an agreement that 80% of Quebecers support, you can use it.
First off, there's a lot of points here that I'd like to address them one by one.
Right.
So, these laws may be in effect in Europe, but that has not meant that Europe has become a peaceful place as a result of it. Ever since you tabled the law on secularism, there have been an increase in reports of Muslim women saying they're being harassed on the streets, that they are being, in some case, people trying to pull their scarves off. I know that your intent is not to provoke this, but can you not acknowledge that this law that you have tabled has allowed people who feel this way to act this way towards Muslim women?
Okay, you say in Europe there is some racism even if we have a comparable law. I can tell you that in the United States we don't have this kind of law, but there is some racism. So it's a different point of view. For me, putting a framework saying only for a group of people and only for new employees, they will not have the right to wear religious signs. What it means is that all other jobs, 99% of the jobs in Quebec, you can wear a religious sign. It means that people on the street can wear a hijab, a kippah, whatever they want on the street. So putting a framework, it helps making sure that the people that are at the extreme, that would like no religious sign at all in Quebec, those people, they have to say, okay, now we have a law and it's very clear, but for most of the people, you can wear what you want.
As Premier, though, do you feel that you have a responsibility right now to speak to these people and say, you do not harass Muslim women. You treat everybody with respect. How do you reconcile that with these Muslim women who are saying, because of what I happen to wear on my head, not necessarily because of what I think, I will not be able to get this job or that job?
Okay,
Is that fair?
because those jobs are in an authority position and you have to show secularism, neutrality. But I will never accept that somebody say something against somebody wearing a religious sign on the street. I will never accept that. I will never accept racism. We have already programs to help reducing racism and we'll continue to fight on that. But my point of view is that in putting a framework, we make sure after 11 years that we can turn the page and work all together, Francophone, Anglophone, allophones, about real priorities, about education, about economy. That's what I want. I didn't come in politics to talk about religious sign. Honestly, it happened like that. I came in politics because I think that Quebec can be richer. I think that we can have more children succeeding, having the chance to go to their potential, full potential. That's why I'm in politics.
And I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But, okay, so let me get to the English schools.
Yeah.
But that's another issue too, where again, your government, there is the perception of arrogance. I know that your education minister, Jean-François Robert, has changed his tactic. He did not make this particular latest announcement on the radio as he did last time because that didn't go over well. But there again, there is the sense that you have a certain agenda, or your government has a certain agenda, that this is what you're going to do, and that somehow doesn't matter what the minority group wants to do, that the compromises that they want to make, somehow they feel that it is not being acknowledged because you will put through your agenda, because you do have the majority.
I would have done the same thing if it was the opposite, transferring schools from the from the Francophone to the Anglophone school boards. Right now, there was a bad planning done by the preceding government. We are in a situation where some children for next September won't have classrooms available. So I have no choice for the good of the children to make this decision. But I hope it's the last time. I hope that the planning in the future will be better and that we'll not have to face this kind of decision.
You know, and again, I'm going to go back to the perceptions, because we can debate the fine points forever. But the perception, again, is that what your government has done in the past 6 months is create divisions between Anglophones and Francophones, the majority versus the minority, the island of Montreal versus the rest of Quebec. There is that perception that these divisions have started to grow since your government came into power. Do you think we're wrong in thinking that?
I think you're wrong, because yesterday we announced a tramway between downtown Montreal and La Chine. Will serve Anglophone in this part of Montreal. When we announced that we'll put in place school, kindergarten for 4 years old, Anglophone and Francophone, it's good for the Anglophone. Why, when I announced that we'll reduce school taxes and that will increase the family allowance for the second and third child, it applies to Anglophone. And I think that Anglophones, their priority are the same than me: education, economy, healthcare, and I'm working hard for Anglophone and Francophone about those priorities. But in the meantime, there was this debate about the religious science and about religious accommodation. That is, every month or second month, we hear about a new case. It's about time we turn the page and spend our energy working all together.
Question about school boards. You plan to ban school boards. Is there any possibility of an asymmetrical system where the English system gets to keep the school board and the French system loses theirs? Because under the Constitution, you know, there is an accommodation, especially in terms of minority language rights, that as asymmetrical systems should be allowed.
First, I would like to explain a bit what I'm proposing and what we'll do next fall. We have right now 9 Anglophone school boards. We'll keep 9 Anglophone service centers, all right? The only difference will come from the election. Even on the Anglophone side, the participation rate is only 17%. So what we propose is to have a board that will be chosen by the parents of the different schools. And what I want also is to transfer some of the power from the board to the schools, because I think that it's in the schools that you have the team who can decide what are the best means for the children. But the Anglophone will continue to have their 9 service centers. They will continue to have a board of Anglophone. They will continue to have what they have right now. The only thing is that the elections doesn't work. 17%, it's not democracy.
One last question, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
What's your biggest concern? What do you worry about the most?
The economy. Because I don't accept that Quebec has a so large difference with Ontario, with the rest of Canada, with United States. Right now, Quebec receives $13 billion a year of equalization payment because we're not as rich as the rest of Canada. And it's not the end being rich. But when you have the means, you can finance good programs and be more independent when you discuss with the rest of Canada. So for me, creating wealth is my biggest concern.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
You'll come back?
Yes, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.